Welcome to Tony's Breadstro.
Yeah, I was looking for food. What do you have?
We got 2 things. That's it. Bread and butter. What'll it be?
I guess I'll take bread and butter.
Eh? Who's ready to eat? You? You? Me? Tony? Eh? I don't know, man. Bread and butter. You know? Basis of the channel. Drawing content. I shouldn't have to explain it, but guess what? I recorded that second after recording the other thing that comes after this, and it felt weird without this little intro in between, so... Who else noticed I'm wearing my jacket inside out before now? You know, when you gotta jump back and forth between different personas, you quick change and you don't really look at what you're wearing. Okay. Anyway. We're going to be doing an expression sheet for my character Joss today. This is a short intro to get you into the main content of the video, but like I said, we need to buffer, so I hope you enjoy the video. I hope you get the concept of bread and butter. I don't think it's too crazy, but let's get into it. Let's do it. So today what we're going to be looking at, and I'm sure I already mentioned it, but if I didn't, oh well, because I filmed this first. So we are doing my character expression sheet for Joss. Joss is my OC. If you've been watching any of my videos, you probably know that. But he is, yeah, he's a character for my story. I had a whole video where I kind of talked about the redesign process and how we got to this point. But this point is where we delved into, I guess, more directly refining his face, specifically from multiple angles, and giving a little bit more expression to try to play with, you know, the main moods he might be expressing. So starting here, we're just doing a profile shot, and profile shots notoriously mess me up, getting the direct depth, the proper depth between where the eye sits compared to the nose and the ears, and that whole thing can be a pain in the ass. 3/4 is a way easier shot. But anyway, so we're starting here, we've got 2 shots going on right now, or 2 different images of him. And I would say this starts more traditionally in like my base style when I'm first like sketching things out. I have like a default that I kind of fall into as far as like general nose and eye aesthetic and things like that. Again, per my other video where I talked about him and got him to like, you know, a new design, so to speak. He looks pretty much the same here. He's relatively similar. One of the biggest key changes, I suppose, in this video, and it'll happen here in a minute. Like I said, this is starting kind of generic. He doesn't have a lot of depth to his face. He doesn't have a lot of, I guess, full, refined, or thought out structure to him. But I'm just trying to play with angles here. So really, as I'm going, I'm trying to figure out a pose that I want to put him in, you know, types of expressions. He's stern. He can look harsh at least. So he's got kind of penetrating eyes, and I mean, you'll be able to tell that by looking, I suppose. But again, we're just playing with 3 shots here. In the middle of this shot, I believe, you'll see me kind of rework him. What I did and what I realized during this process here is that, so I figured out all these things I liked about Joss, let's say that. You know, I knew the general face structure. I knew it was a long face. I knew he had very pronounced features, a heavy brow. I knew I wanted him to have a mustache with mutton chops. I figured out I wanted him to be a ginger, you know, redhead. During this process, I figured out some shortcuts for his mutton chops to simplify the shape so they're not super detailed, so I didn't have to blow my blow my hand off. Let's say that. That sounds more appropriate. Every time I went to draw him, I made it simpler for myself, essentially. I did the same thing with his mustache and his overall hair. I figured out how his hair actually looked as opposed to just being windswept or being blown back from his face. But during this process, I realized that he looked like an actor. specific actor that I remembered from my childhood. So there's an actor named Jason Fleming. He's been in a lot of movies. He's generally kind of a character actor, more background, not necessarily always the forefront of the leading actor. But I realized that he looked like this guy in the process of drawing this, the process of these first 3 images. I was like, hold on, I think he looks like this guy from Jungle Book. So it was the Jungle Book movie that my grandma owned on VHS, and every time I would go to her house, I would watch this movie. And I have it, actually. I have the exact VHS that she used to have. But for some reason, like, his face kind of like stuck in my brain. So when I went back to the movie to look, because I thought that's who it was like looking at Joss, I was like, holy shit, it looks exactly like my mental image of him, but I didn't realize like I was drawing from that past inspiration. So I thought it was really cool. And obviously I'll throw pictures of him up here. But for this 4th image, I had an exact face in mind. So I looked up a bunch of references of Jason Fleming from different angles because he has a super unique face, and because he has prominent features, it looks different from multiple angles. So I looked up for it for this 4th image, and you can tell it looks different from the original 3, and I'm obviously refining it, but you can tell it looks different. And once I did that, I was like, yeah, I'm totally going to just skew what I was doing to match the general characteristics of his face, because it's going to make it feel cohesive. I already have a basis for how it looks like from multiple angles, so that's what I decided to do. So I did this fourth place, yes, that's what I said, and I was like, yeah, that's him. That's 100% him. So then afterwards, I went back and reworked the original 3, and I think I had a 5th face as well later, which wasn't based on, that's kind of interesting. So the 5th face that'll come up here a little bit later wasn't based on a reference image. Again, the first 3 weren't either. The 4th one, the exact angle and shot was directly based on an image, so I could get those features down. After I did that, I go back to the original 3. The 5th one isn't based on a direct image, but I took everything I learned from those original 3 with how the structure looks, how his face kind of changes from multiple angles, and then I just did a photo of myself, and then I skewed it to look like him with those proportions, because I knew I wanted one shot of him smoking, because that's relevant to his character. So yeah, I was really happy with how it looked. But yeah, some of the things I figured out during this, aside from it looking like an actor I had known from my childhood, whose brain just stuck in my, or whose face stuck in my head and my brain, I figured out other things about him. I guess specifically would be his hair, how it would look. Again, before it was just, windswept, it was blown back and kind of pushed off his face. I knew I wanted him to have some type of bang, if you will, so that it could kind of fall on his face a little bit, make it feel a little bit more dynamic, make him, peer out from behind his heavy brows, or have the hair kind of obscuring his face, things like that. So I realized that I wanted him to have these 2 like wings, basically, that almost give him like a fox quality. I think they make him look a little bit more mischievous. They almost have like a horn effect. And I really liked how that came out, but I didn't know that until I started going with this. If you were to go back to the final revision of Joss in my, like I said, my other video, sorry I keep mentioning it, but go check it out, because it was good and I was part of that video. But if you look at that one, his hair is just fully pulled back, and he looks like this character, but it's not as refined as I hope all of these faces happen to look like when it's fully finished here. But yeah, I hope they look similar. I think they all look similar enough. The full profile shot, and then the 3rd image in the top right, it's kind of like a weird 3/4 angle. Both of those were the biggest bane of my existence for this. Perhaps the downward shot, which you see at the bottom now, that one was kind of annoying too, and you might have seen earlier. I basically totally rework it in a bit, but the first 2, like I mentioned, I keep touching those the entire time. I keep playing with them all the way up until the end, because I just have to, I specifically the profile, I wanted to get that exact, because I knew that, it's going to be very frequent that I draw them in profile, that I draw them in a 3/4. Like I said, the top 3rd shot is a little bit of a weird angle, but the bottom, the downward tilted shot, I think it was happening earlier, perhaps you saw it, but as I flipped it, his face was so asymmetrical, it didn't match in any capacity. And that's always the tricky spot when you try to do something more straight on, even if it is tilted down, that you want that symmetry. Now, you don't want it to look obviously too symmetrical, or else you're losing the realism. You know, no face is entirely symmetrical, so you know, you don't necessarily want to do half and then copy and flip it, because then it'll look way too clean. Your eye will catch that symmetry immediately. So yeah, there's a balance, but either way, you do want some type of symmetry unless you do a pose. So if you see that bottom one, I did try to give him like a little bit of a crooked growl, I guess, to try to hide that it wasn't lining up properly for me. But either way, we've got the top 3 into a semi-finished state. Again, I definitely rework the profile quite a bit. I'm working on it now, and I still rework that top right one just a hair, because the way that his eyes sit and his forehead and everything, it's just a very strange angle. I don't know why I chose it, but I did. But yeah, now we're getting to that down tilted shot and kind of reworking that. So coffee sip. Yeah, new coffee mug. It was for my trip. It's from Arches, the Delicate Arch. So I'll be posting a video on that here before too long, once I compile, you know, over 3,000 photos and videos and get into something that's coherent. But that'll be coming on the channel before too long, and that'll be a cool video because it'll be about the it'll be about the trip. It'll be about photography and, you know, that style of art to some extent, but it'll also be relevant because, you know, one of the main reasons I took that trip, outside of just taking a trip with my mother, is that I wanted to, you know, experience the Navajo people, or the Dene, because the story that involves Joss, this character, is one of the main characters, Nona, is Navajo, and I wanted to go there and see what that culture really felt like in person. So either way, this is a preview for that. So that video will be coming before too long, but it'll be a lot of compiling. So not sure if it'll be next week or the following or when, but something happened. This is the final shot, or the final image. Again, I still kind of touch up the other ones as far as I recall. But this image is the one, like I said, I didn't look at any reference aside from just a photo of myself I took. I actually used my my Apple Pencil, if I can pull that out here. This is my Apple Pencil that I used to draw with, so I just held it in my hand like it was a cigarette because it's already white, and I used that as the reference photo here. And then I just skewed, you know, the general face structure of mine, because my face is much wider and shorter than Joss's, and then I just, you know, stretched it based on everything I learned from the other images, you know. And I've said that before, but all of this is just, you know, iterative and a learning process. So I start with one face, I do it in a different angle, I realize how the cheekbone or the nose is going to look, and then I try to apply that to all the other images. So I'm kind of tweaking them as I go, so that I can try to ensure I've got a cohesive and, I guess, believable face, you know. So when you look at it, you're like, okay, yeah, I could see that being the same character from multiple angles. And there's a few of them that I think, a few of these images in particular, that I feel like do meet that goal or that criteria that I try to set for these type of expression sheets. But yeah, I think overall it was pretty good. Not perfect, but, you know, being a perfectionist kind of makes you feel that way all the time. So we're gonna take it as a win, even if we don't feel 100% confident. But yeah, here I had done most of his face, and I wanted to overlay the hair, but I didn't want to risk, you know, altering or skewing the lines I had done for the face. So I did a secondary layer with this hair. I cleaned it up. That's why you can still see the faint, you know, face below that. That's what's happening, in case you're not familiar with Photoshop or any kind of digital artwork. So once I have the hair finished, then I go under, I delete the original, you know, skull basically that's below that. Then I merge the two down and just clean up around them. But again, it's the easiest way of not ruining maybe what I had already done below that layer. Yeah, these are the 5 faces. Again, we're going in and we're refining. I'm still working on that profile shot. It's still not correct. I am happy with how that one turned out, because again, that was one of the biggest struggles for me. I think the two in the very end that I'm the least satisfied with are the down tilted shot in the bottom left, and then just that weird angle in the top right. Yeah, I'm not sure. I just don't know if I feel like it ever totally got there, but yeah, this one's kind of a shorter video. This is this is our bread and butter, as I did in my intro. You know, drawing videos. As I said, there'll be plenty of different styles of content on the channel just because I get bored with doing the same thing too often. And I like to do different types of art and different creative projects. But drawing is always going to be bread and butter. It's going to be your standard. So, you know, not a terribly long video, but I'm sure some of you people who don't like long content will enjoy that. So, yeah. But anyway. Coffee sip. If you're drinking coffee, any energy of any kind, you let me know. If it's your first time watching me, welcome. We drink coffee here, or energy of any kind, but it's coffee. It's coffee. Even if you say I'm drinking tea, I'm drinking energy drinks. I'm hearing is coffee because that's what I drink mostly. But yeah, going through trying to refine that down tilted shot. Again, unifying them, playing with their placement. You know, even though we're doing an image to show the breadth of what Joss's face looks like from different angles, I still want the overall piece to be aesthetically pleasing, right? So like, I kind of get all 5 images in a state where they look good, kind of looking around. I'll flip them all. I'll see if, you know, if I want one to look left or right, because it kind of gives it more of a dynamic feel as I'm looking at this piece. If they're all looking to the right, that might feel kind of weird. It kind of ruins the mental distinction of this is how his face looks from this way, as aside from they're all looking left in a slightly different head turn. I didn't necessarily want it to look that way. Again, maybe that's me being nitpicky, but that's kind of what I think about. I think about the staging of how all the heads are going to look as well once I go about this process. So Joss's face in particular, one of the hardest things to keep in mind is, I mean, he's obviously has a prominent chin. He has large, prominent features with his nose and his mouth, his mustache and his sideburns, but he has a very heavy brow and his eyes are deep set. So making sure that still reads from all of the different angles is a little bit challenging. But I think it's one of the things that gives him his, you know, more stern or contemplative or sarcastic kind of air about him. So again, basically it's one of the parts that I like the most, even though it can be one of the ones that can be a little bit hard to fully capture in a rendering like this, at least from multiple angles. So, but yeah, let me know, by the way, like if you think it does look like Jason Flemyng. I mean, even before, if you can see what I meant, why I realized like, hey, this looks like that guy from that movie, and then I went and found him, and like, holy shit, this is the guy in my head for all these years, and I never really realized it. But let me know if you thought it looked like him or if you can see the resemblance now. Again, it looks like him, I think, from my perspective, but I didn't also try to make it look identical to him. Even once I started taking the inspiration, I started to, you know, I wasn't hard with that rule set. I took the things that I thought were very applicable, and you know, I skewed a few things here and there where I felt it maybe fit the character of Joss better. But either way, we are almost at the end. Wrapping up now. I think I go and touching up the profile shot here a little bit, trying to get it more unified, fixing the mouth because it was weird with the mustache. But yeah, that is that's the video. That's all of the headshots for the expression sheet. That's the word. Expression sheet. That's all the headshots for the expression sheet. Let me know what you think. If you like this kind of video. I think these are always fun. I always enjoy showing, you know, multiple faces as opposed to just one, or multiple characters as opposed to just one. It gives more to talk about. I think it's interesting, but obviously there'll be times when that doesn't happen. But yeah, let me know what you think. If you have anything else you'd be curious to hear about on my creative process in general, whichever of the creative processes you've seen on my channel so far. We do fan art here, so if there's any fan art you'd like to see, let me know. Again, no guarantee I'll get to it right away. I'm currently working on a Avatar The Last Airbender piece. Who knows how fast it'll come out, but I've started it and it's in base stages, so that'll be coming out before too terribly long. But yeah, if you like the content, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, Stick around, we got more coming. So yeah, until next time. See you then. Is that a copy of Jungle Book from the 90s? What the fuck?
Don't you dare talk shit on Jungle Book from 1994, you uncultured swine. It's a classic. What he said. Fuck.